just going to hold the mic like this. I thought about not using it at all, but maybe the video camera wouldn't record the audio if I did that. So, all right, I'm Kait Burgan, and this is my clipboard. So what, right? Well, this clipboard has gotten me through the last 2 decades, being a television host and producer, and a news radio anchor, and a newspaper columnist. And if this clipboard could talk, it would tell you that for the past 20 years, I've been totally winging it. And that's a big part of the reason why I'm up here today, because I'm not winging this. I'm using this clipboard to get me through the next 9 minutes, hopefully less, and I've been thinking about these 9 minutes for the last 3 months. I was talking with my boyfriend, it sounds so juvenile, about this talk, and then my 8-year-old son said, in the very concentrated way that children have of saying things, he said, "Let me get this straight. You're talking about talking?" And I said, "Yeah, we're talking about talking because today I want this to be great." And what that means, what great means today, and it's different all the time, is that you walk away inspired by insight, that you walk away knowing that curiosity can be the answer to navigating your way through the so many things that we have to accomplish every hour, every day, every week, every month, every year, throughout our entire lifetime. And that you walk away knowing that making space is the key in getting what you want. Clipboards are great. If this clipboard could talk, it would tell you that I felt like an underdog my entire life. How many of you can relate? How many have felt like an underdog at some point? I would guess that Elizabeth May knows what it feels like to be an underdog. She's the leader of the Green Party, and she's heralded by some as a hero, maybe even a savior, for the role that women can play in the environment and the questioning of process, what role that can play in Canadian politics. She was excluded from 2 national debates, and she didn't just sit back and take it. She went to Twitter and she slammed the Harper government. Her party has 1 seat in Parliament. Pretty lonely place to be, but nonetheless, it's a huge accomplishment. I bet she knows what it feels like to be an underdog, and I bet that that is a big part of her drive. From politics to culture and arts, I bet that Celine Dion knows what it feels like to be an underdog. I saw a documentary once, it was actually, I think, a Tacky Made for TV movie, about her rise to stardom, and I was in awe of everything that she had to accomplish. She's the youngest of 14 children. Her family was very poor. She's francophone, and it's extremely difficult to break into a Canadian-speaking market. She was odd-looking, and she actually had a little bit of surgery in her face to increase her chances of becoming a big, big star, which of course we know that she did. So I would bet that Celine Dion knows what it's like to be an underdog. Now, while we might not be leading political parties or performing in Vegas every night, if this clipboard could talk, I bet that it would say most of us, and I think we've already seen that, have felt like an underdog at some point in our lives. And I believe that we win when we use that to propel ourselves to our own successes, the success that we want for ourselves. If I were to rate the depth to which I have felt like an underdog, right now I'm sitting at about a 5. It's probably maybe about a 4, that's not just in this moment, but generally in life right now. I used to be a 10. My family did not own a home. We didn't own a car. We didn't take vacations. I was the only kid on the block whose parents were divorced, and my mom was pretty much missing in action for the formative years. We lived in a very small 1-bedroom apartment, my brother and my dad and me, and we ate a lot of millet because it's healthy and cheap, really, really cheap. My dad used to put particle board over the bathtub, and that was a steam bath. There was no shower that I remember. And all our stuff was hand-me-downs, garage sales and thrift stores and whatever our friends would give us. My dad spent some time on welfare so that he could stay home and be with his kids. There were no frills whatsoever in my life. I know what it's like to be an underdog. Every now and then, I catch myself having a little pity party. Poor me, I didn't get any advantages in life. But what good is that gonna do, really? And that's the thing about being an underdog. You just have to keep working towards what you know is possible, working towards what you know you can have. I think about the word can't a lot. because I'm very aware that being an underdog can be a good excuse to use the word can't. It can be a pretty good excuse to settle for what is less than what you know is possible. And that's where I sometimes get into trouble, because there are so many possibilities, and I'm so curious, and I get overwhelmed because I'm curious about pretty much everything, right? If this clipboard could talk, it would ask me how I manage to keep myself intact. I work and interview with over 500 different people every year, at least. And every single one of those people has their own agenda, they have their own objectives, and they all want a piece of me. They all think I can help them somehow. And it's overwhelming. That doesn't even include what my kids need from me. That doesn't include what I want to do for myself or what my domestic responsibilities are. I get overwhelmed by the multitasking that it takes just to get by, sometimes every day. But then I wonder that if running from thing to thing to thing isn't really without cause for reflection, if those experiences are somehow lessened because there is no time for pause and reflection, and then that's in conflict with what I want out of life, which is getting the most out of life. And I get so much out of these experiences, but I'm not getting the full value out of these experiences. So there's this conflict going on, right? Curious is a word that comes up a lot when exploring ways to live life to the fullest. You're told to be curious. I'm like, yeah, I got that covered. But what I'm finding is that by turning some of my insatiable curiosity inwards, I can keep it manageable and more balanced. And what would happen if I stepped out of wanting to be a part of everything that there is to be a part of? What if I made spending time with the person and the people I love more important than this thing or that thing or all of these external things? What would I regret by choosing to pursue curiosity around my family and myself instead of what the outside world is doing? I think that's helping me feel like less of an underdog. And if this clipboard could talk, it would tell me that my curiosity is insatiable and to never lose it. And it would also tell me that it can be satisfied in the smallest of moments, and those are the moments that keep us intact. I hope I'm going to time out okay. I was 7 minutes under, still I started to look, okay. If this clipboard could talk, it would reinforce the value of making space for curiosity, of course, but more importantly, for the things that you want, for things that are important to you. I watch people slugging and struggling through their lives, not knowing how to make it better, not knowing how to be happy with what they have. And I believe that having what you don't want is the biggest barrier in getting what you do want. I left the father of my children several years ago, and it tore me apart because that meant that I failed at breaking the pattern of a broken home that was so important to me that I break. And it was a friend of mine, it was Angie Bernard, who said, "You're not breaking your family apart, you're restructuring it." And I share that a lot, and it helped a lot. But I knew that as long as there was something in my life that was making me miserable and taking up so much space, that there would never be room for anything better. And I believe that the unknown is better than the unwanted. Because in the unknown, there is room for better. I'm Kait Burgan, and this is my clipboard. It's not a stick or a gimmick. I carry it around a lot. There's duct tape on it that stops the light from bouncing around on my face when the TV cameras and the lights are on. This clipboard holds my curiosity by the way of notes and press releases and scripts, and it makes space as I peel away what I no longer need. And maybe it makes me look like a little bit of an underdog because it's tattered and a bit messy, but that's okay. If this clipboard could talk, it would ask you this: will you embrace the underdog in yourself and use it to ensure that what is taking up space in your life isn't crowding out the things that you actually want?